So, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another very exciting Voice of Nature session. Today, we are going to be talking about noise pollution. Noise pollution is an invisible pollution that is all around us. India is a very populated country, and anywhere you go, you will find human settlement, and you will find the settlement is accompanied by a lot of noise. You will have vehicles, you have factories, industries, right? Anywhere you go, you'll keep running into this form of pollution that is noise pollution. We didn't have this kind of noise pollution in the past. Only in the last 20, 25 years has noise pollution become a very big thing. This is one of the pollutions that is very less talked about, but it is something we need to address today because this sort of pollution contributes to a lot of problems, a lot of health problems. And because we don't see it, we don't actually tackle it. We don't actually notice it. But it is a part of us. And if we can reduce noise pollution, we can actually improve the quality of our lives. One sec. Just give me a sec. So, sounds are all around us. You wake up to an alarm clock in the morning, your phone rings, your cat meows, your dog barks, you answer the doorbell, you watch television. Anywhere you go, you are bombarded with sounds. But because these sounds have become so much a part of our lives, we don't actually notice it. Now, why don't you actually take the time out and then list the types of sounds you listen from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night? You will see there are hundreds and thousands of sources from where you actually hear sounds within your own house. Now, these sounds are necessary because we tend to live in a society, and without sound, we cannot survive. You have to wake up to an alarm clock, right? You have to, when your class gets over when the bell rings. So, sounds are very necessary. But when these sounds they reach a volume that is dangerous for people and humans, then it becomes noise, and that is when we have noise pollution. Usually, you tend to see the other forms of pollution, be it air pollution, water pollution, or land pollution, right? But noise pollution is something that we don't see, and hence we're not affected by it very much. But actually, we are as much affected by noise pollution as we are affected by all the other three types of pollution. So, noise pollution is excessive, displeasing human, animal, and machine created environmental noise that disrupt the activity or balance of human and animal life. So, when the sound actually gets too much, where you are not able to concentrate, you're not able to live your life, that is when you have noise pollution. You live amongst noise pollution. Now, WHO, that is the World Health Organization, defines noise above 65 decibels as noise pollution. Noise becomes harmful when it exceeds 75 decibels, and it is painful when it is above 120 decibels. So, any noise that is above 120 decibels will start damaging your ear, and it will start causing you permanent ear damage. You will not be able to sleep if the noise levels are very high. Restful sleep is impossible if you have ambient noise levels that are above 30 decibels. So in your house, make sure the noise levels are low. In your room, make sure the noise levels are low. That is when you are able to sleep well. If you continuously have an air conditioner running, if you continuously have an air cooler running inside your room, the noise levels are too high and you will not be able to get good sleep. The alarm clock has a noise level of 80 decibels, which is annoying. Let me tell you, you need to have a noise decibel level of about 65. But the alarm clock is a little strong. That is why when you wake up to an alarm clock, make sure that the music that you listen to is soothing. Don't have loud music that is your alarm tone. Then it actually causes you a lot of stress. Now, industry or city traffic has a noise level of 80 decibels, which can cause hearing impairment, that is, cause you to become deaf. A rock band concert has a decibel level of 110, and this causes a lot of discomfort to the human ear. Drilling machine has a noise level of 135 decibels, and this causes pain. So when there's a lot of construction activity happening around your house or wherever you are, right, you tend to close your ears because the sound that you get from all the machines is very, very high, and it is actually causing you a lot of discomfort in the ear. Now, let me tell you, most of the ear damage that happens to you will be irreplaceable, or it cannot be cured. So make sure that you protect your ears, because nerves are very sensitive, and when you are living in the middle of constant noise, then you'll tend to damage your ear permanently. If you are in the habit of listening to music throughout the day, right, that is very dangerous. Do not listen to music through headphones, because when you have to listen to music, there has to be a certain amount of gap between the ear and the source and the speaker. But when you have earphones, you put them right inside the ear. Now there is no gap between the eardrum and the source of the sound. So your eardrum starts to vibrate higher and higher, and that starts damaging your ears. So, whenever possible, do not use earphones, because that is a problem that we'll come to later in this chapter. But that is a problem that you will not be able to get rid of. Once it starts damaging your ear, I'm telling you, it'll be a big issue for you to actually lead a normal life. So, get rid of earphones as soon as possible. Listen to sounds from an external speaker, the computer speaker or the television speaker. That is fine. But earphones will cause you a lot of damage. Now, in a city like India, you see there's traffic everywhere. Now, if you were to find yourself in the middle of this road, imagine the amount of noise that you're going to hear continuously. You cannot bear it. It's just too much. Excessive honking. Now, drivers in our country have a very bad habit of honking at everything. They keep on honking. Even when you're at a red signal, they honk from behind. When there's a traffic jam, they keep honking. But they don't realize the amount of stress and damage they're causing to other people around you. So, in our country, we need to change a lot of behaviors. A lot of driving behaviors have to be changed. Excessive honking should stop. Now, honking in hospital zones. How many of us know that we are not supposed to honk around hospital areas, because that is going to disturb the patients who are critically ill? But we see these signs everywhere, but nobody follows it. Try going to a hospital zone and just hearing the sound of silence. It is close to impossible. Every nook and corner, you will hear horns. Horns from vehicles, horns from autos. You'll have so much of noise that patients do not have the silence in which they can recover. Now let's look at the world's noisiest cities. Guangzhou, China is the noisiest city in the world, followed by New Delhi. You can notice that number 4 city is Mumbai. We already have two cities in India that are supposed to be the most noisiest cities in the world, and other cities are catching up. So, because nobody is paying attention to noise, no one's paying attention to noise pollution, nothing is being done about it. Let us try and raise awareness about this issue. Drilling. Throughout your city, you will notice there's always some form of construction that is happening, either on the roads, or somebody is building an apartment, somebody is constructing a mall. Construction happens throughout, non-stop. Or there's a metro that is being constructed, and the noise levels are very high. So when you are walking out, make sure you protect your ears. Put some cotton in the ear, because you'll have people continuously honking. You'll have people that are drilling. You'll have a lot of construction activities going on. You'll be bombarded by so many sources of sound that are above the decibel limits that you have to stay within. It will start to damage your ear over a long period of time. Fireworks. Now, in almost all our festivals, almost all our religious processions, or in during cricket matches, during sporting events, you hear and see firecrackers. Now, firecracker, the sound of a firecracker is very displeasing to the ear. It causes a lot of damage. So, let us from now on at least celebrate without making noise. That way, we do not harm other creatures, we do not harm other people, because a lot of people today have ear problems. A lot of elderly people are very sensitive to hearing. So, when we burst crackers, it causes a lot of stress in them. Now, look at the plight of animals, how much of noise that they have to endure in the city. It's so difficult for them to live, but they have to live in the middle of continuous noise. That is impossible. You see loudspeakers everywhere, especially during elections. You'll have vehicles that have loudspeakers and they're running across, right, chanting some slogans everywhere, loudspeakers, and you are actually in the midst of so much chaos. The outer chaos that you see will actually come within your body and you will not be at peace. When you go to bed at night, you're not at peace because there's so much of stress that has built up in you because of the levels of noise that you were exposed to during the day. So this picture says it all. Look at the number of speakers, and people can't even stand there. So let's look at the sources from where noise originates. Street traffic sounds from cars, buses, pedestrians, ambulances, police vehicles, outdoor construction sounds like drilling or heavy machinery from operation, transportation such as aircraft and train noises. Now, if you have a house next to a railway track, you can actually see how loud the sound of a train is. You will see if you have a house close to the airport, and you will know how much noise an aeroplane makes. Machines from factories, loudspeakers used during elections and functions, constant loud music in or near commercial venues, industrial sounds like fans, generators, compressors, and mills, household noise from television sets to music playing on the stereo or the computer. In your house, look at the number of gadgets that you use, right? That machines that you use that cause noise. You have vacuum cleaners, you have air conditioners, coolers, washing machines, dishwashers, lawn mowers, and they create so much of noise that are above the safe limit for the year. You have events that actually use a lot of firecrackers and a lot of loudspeakers, and this has to stop because now we're getting to a point where the sound is unbearable. Noise pollution can be categorized into four types. So you have four types of noises that you can actually categorize them in. First is continuous noise. That is noise from factories and power plants that are working throughout the day, throughout the night. Machines are continuously running, and that is when you have the noise. Intermittent noise, that is machines from factories that produce both high and low sounds. So machines that are fluctuating in sound, so you have intermittent noise that would start and stop and start and stop. Impulsive noise from a gunfire or horns from a vehicle, those very sharp and shrill sounds that are just for 1 or 2 seconds, they create a lot of damage to the ear, because when you hear, your eardrum needs to vibrate. When you have impulsive noises that are like horns or firecrackers, your eardrums tend to vibrate a lot more, and that causes a lot more damage in the long run. Low frequency noise, such as the hum from a nearby power station or the roaring of a large diesel engine. So, the sounds that are going on in the background that you feel are not too loud. But though you're hearing the sound continuously, your eardrum is continuously vibrating. You're continuously hearing that noise throughout the day. If you have a generator at home and it's always on, air conditioner at home and it's always on, the sound keeps on going. And this over a period of time starts to damage your ear. We don't give our ears any break. Can you imagine from morning to evening, there's continuous noise outside? When you come home to lie down on the bed, you have the air conditioning noise and your ears are continuously vibrating. When are we going to give them a break? So, effects of noise pollution on the human ear or human body. Let's look at it. First is hearing loss. You tend to lose your hearing. Then you have damage to the eardrums, a loss of concentration. So when you are in the midst of a lot of noise and then you come to a quiet area, you build up so much stress inside that you're unable to concentrate on anything. You have hypertension, This leads to a lot of heart problems, nervous tension. You get frustration, you're fatigued, that is, you're tired, you're anxious about the future, always thinking, always worried. It leads to hysteria, sleep disorders. Now, when you are actually, you have a job or you actually come from an area that is very noisy, you will not be able to sleep well in the night because the sound levels were so high. Your ears are constantly ringing, and you are tired, and you're frustrated, and because you don't get to fall asleep, you'll have other health complications. The next day, you won't be able to function properly. You won't be able to work properly, and you fall sick. Depression. Let me tell you, listening to a lot of music, a lot of sounds also leads to depression. You have respiratory agitation. You tend to breathe faster. When there's a lot of stress inside, you have a high blood pressure, right? And then you have headaches. Now, when you learn to calm down and when you remove yourself from an environment of loud noise, then your body starts to heal, and then you're at peace, and then you tend to sleep well, and your rhythm of your body falls in place. But when you are constantly listening to music, or you're constantly exposed to loud sound, there is no peace within, and then you will not be able to fall asleep. So let's look at the measures to control noise pollution. The first important step is to plant trees because trees can absorb sound. Now, by planting trees, a lot of good things happen. You get more oxygen, your air gets purified, you're giving more life to other creatures because you have birds and insects that depend on these trees, you get fruits from the trees, and at the same time, it reduces the amount of noise that enters your house. So, the first basic solution to noise pollution is to plant as many trees as possible. Make your place a green place, right? Live amongst thick green vegetation, and a lot of good health benefits will come to you. Low frequency horns. The government should step in here and reduce the high frequency horns, like at least put a ban on them. And you should have horns that are subtle, that are low, and that do not damage the ears. Factories and airports should be located outside the cities so that the noise levels are less in residential areas. Sound absorbers to be used. So many places, like in Delhi, they have a lot of sound absorbers that are placed along the flyovers. So people who honk on the flyovers, where the sound doesn't travel outside the flyovers and are being absorbed by these sound barriers. So other cities, metropolitan cities especially, should think about implementing these sound absorbers throughout the city. Reduce use of loudspeakers. Now, we don't always need loudspeakers. You see, during all our festivals, you have loudspeakers, and they play music, and the music goes on from morning to night, and sometimes even throughout the night, disturbing the whole area, and people are unable to fall asleep. So we have to change that habit and not use loudspeakers. Opt for alternative means of transport, such as bicycles or electric vehicles, overtaking the car. So, if you have a small errand to run, if you need to buy something from the shop close by, don't take your bike, don't take your car, right? Why don't you walk to those places? Or why don't you take a cycle and get some exercise? And then that way you'll be able to reduce the amount of noise that you will create. Because when you take your vehicle out, you are forced to horn because you press the horn because you'll have people coming in your way, you'll have vehicles coming in your way. This is one way you can actually reduce noise pollution. Insulate homes with noise absorbing materials. Now, you can think about ways in which you can actually cover your homes with noise absorbing materials. And one of the best thing to do, as I said, is to plant trees. Try and have as many trees as possible around your house, and they are natural sound absorbers. What the government can do. Now, establish regulations such as mandatory separation between residential zones and sources of noise like airports. So you should have airports, industrial areas, factories, all these things that actually generate a lot of noise, have them located outside the city limits and let them not be close to any residential area. Fines for exceeding noise limits. Now, we face the problem of excessive honking. Everybody honks, and they honk for no reason at all. So the government should actually implement strict regulations and start finding people who tend to honk unnecessarily. Installing noise insulation in buildings should be made mandatory. So noise insulation will actually reduce the amount of noise that goes outside and the amount of noise that comes inside. So every new building should probably have this. Creating pedestrian areas where traffic is not allowed. So why don't we have roads around parks, certain roads around around hospitals where vehicles are not allowed, normal vehicles are not allowed. So that way, you'll actually have a lot of people who are walking who can actually hear the sounds of nature instead of hearing horns. Now, animals and noise pollution. Many events, such as weddings and religious functions, use animals in their processions. These animals are subjected to intense noise and are unable to do anything about it. How many times have you seen weddings where the bride and groom are brought on horses or sometimes even on elephants, and you have a band that is playing right in front of the horse's face or the elephant's face? Now, mind you, these animals have wonderful hearing. They have very sensitive hearing. So the sound that we create will start damaging them. They get frustrated. Okay, and they have a lot of mental problems because they're unable to do anything about this sound and it starts hurting them. But because they cannot do anything about it, they have to face the brunt, and we are actually abusing these animals. Imagine the amount of noise that is created right next to the ear of the animal. I've seen people hitting the drums so close to the horse's ear, where the horse's eardrum might even explode. They suffer from a lot of problems, such as hearing loss, stress, and anxiety. Now, when you have any of these problems, you can go to a doctor. You have parents, friends, family who you can talk to, who can support you. But what about these poor animals? We abuse these animals, and then they cannot even react. They cannot even do anything about it. They cannot even tell you that they are suffering from hear pain, or they're suffering from some kind of stress. They're not even able to communicate, and a day in and day out they have to go through the same abuse again. So let us be a little more sensitive towards these animals henceforth. So we dress up animals like this for our functions, and we should, I think, take a hard look at these, because animals are not meant to actually behave in this manner, to actually take in so much of sound when so much of noise during our festivals. So let us actually bring about these changes and become more empathetic towards their plight. Street dogs and noise pollution. Can you imagine this? Let us empathize with the street dog a bit. Can you imagine living on the street, okay, with all the noise day in and day out continuously? You don't have a home. Let's say you sleep on the side of the road. So much of noise. Can you sleep? Imagine the amount of health problems that you will get with the just because of the amount of noise that is around you. Now they have to live and sleep in the midst of constant noise. In cities like Bangalore and Delhi, the cities never sleep. So you have noise throughout the day, you have noise throughout the night, and the poor dogs suffer from so much of hearing problems. They have to navigate between speeding cars and bikes. We break the rules, we overspeed, and we keep honking and going. And these dogs are not fast enough to move out of the way. They are starving most of the time, so they also have to depend on the hearing to actually find prey. They have to hear to catch cats or probably catch rats. But when they're living in the middle of the road where they're exposed to so much of noise, how can they hear and how can they get to their food? The puppies have to suffer noise levels that are extremely high for their age. Now the puppies, they have very sensitive ears, and imagine they're born on the side of the road, how much of noise that they have to endure morning to evening. They might even become deaf because there's so much of noise. Birds and noise pollution. Many birds rely on their hearing to catch their prey, especially owls. They have extremely sensitive hearing, and very sensitive. They can, from the sky, they can hear the rat moving on the ground. But due to increasing noise levels, they are unable to find their prey because there's so much of noise throughout the night, and hence these birds are becoming extinct from the city. Many eggs are cracking in their nest due to high noise levels in the city. Experts say noise pollution can interfere with their breeding cycle, their rearing of their young, and is even hastening the extinction of several species. Now, when I was a kid, we used to have so many birds, especially crows and mynas and quails. Now, today I hardly see them because the noise levels are so high. These birds are not able to adapt to the noise levels, and hence they have been driven away from the cities. Now, if you think the oceans are safe, even the oceans are not safe from noise pollution. Thousands of oil drills, sonars, seismic survey with devices, coastal recreation watercrafts, shipping vessels are populating the waters. So you have the oceans that have our vehicles there. Whales are amongst the most affected as the hearing helps them to orient themselves, feed, and communicate. Whales travel across several continents, right? And they depend on their hearing. They communicate through sound. And because there's so much of noise, they're losing their way. Noise pollution thus interferes with whales and dolphins' feeding habits, their reproductive patterns, their migratory routes. It can even cause hemorrhage and death. So we are actually, we are creating noise almost everywhere. Even underwater, we are creating noise. Now, animals and noise pollution. Let's look at firecrackers, for example. In many places, people throw firecrackers at wild animals to chase them away. During our festival, the Diwali festival, we burst so many crackers, and I'm sure you've noticed the street dogs running and hiding in the gutters somewhere. Cats are nowhere to be seen because it is very scary for them. And even if one day they don't get to eat, they tend to starve. Imagine you don't get food for one day. Now, cats, these dogs, many of them hunt and they need peace and quiet to hear their prey. But when they don't get to eat even for one day, right, you can imagine the problems that they suffer. So, when you're bursting firecrackers, they go and hide. Many of them get injured in the firecrackers too. So, we'll have to stop using firecrackers and creating so much of noise and disturbing so much of life around us. So birds are also affected by firecrackers and a lot of noise pollution. So let us please empathize with creatures beyond our species and let us make it a livable place, not only for us, but for creatures that are, that are animals and birds that are beyond our species. Let's think about the whole planet as a whole and make it a silent and beautiful place for everyone to live. Now, I want to talk to you about a problem. It's called tinnitus. All right. Now, tinnitus is a loud ringing noise inside the ear. Okay, it's a problem that is prevalent amongst the people today, but many of us are not aware of it. Almost everybody suffers from this problem. Why don't you turn off the fan, sit in a quiet room, and just close your ears, right? Close your ears for 10 seconds, and you can hear a ringing sound inside. Now, if you can hear the ringing sound, that means you are suffering from tinnitus. All right. Now, tinnitus, when in the aggravated stage, can cause sleepless nights, hypertension, anxiety, frustration, and depression. You will not be able to go out of your home. You will not be able to perform your day-to-day activities properly if the tinnitus is too high. Because every time there's a loud sound, this damage gets increased. Now, tinnitus is a nerve damage that is caused by excessive sound. When the sound levels are high, your nerves in the ear start getting damaged and they start producing this sound. All right. And it gets to a point where it gets so loud that you cannot fall asleep. So please beware of this problem. Now, there are many causes, but the main cause for tinnitus is using headphones. So stop using headphones or earphones as much as possible. Because as a kid, I was not told about this side effects of using headphones. And today, everybody is using headphones thinking that there's no problem. They blast music through their headphones, and the sound level is so high that the eardrum starts vibrating so fast that the nerves inside start to get damaged. And you see, this problem, once it comes, it does not have a solution. All right, there is no cure for tinnitus. We don't have a medicine that will actually reduce the sound or stop the sound altogether. So please be careful right now. If you are in the habit of listening to music through your headphones, stop it. Listen to music with an external source. Have a speaker computer speaker, a TV speaker, that is fine. There should always be an air gap between the sound, the source of the sound, and your ear. When you use your phone, when you use your headphones, there is no air gap between the ear and the source of the sound. So let me make it very clear. Let there be a gap between the source of the sound, that is the speaker, and your ear. There has to be an air gap so that there's enough cushion for the eardrum. But when there is no gap, your ear starts to get damaged. Right? They start to get damaged, and then once it starts getting damaged, there is no going back. So please take it as a firm warning from my side and stop using headphones as much as possible. Tips on avoiding noise pollution. Wear earplugs whenever exposed to elevated noise levels. Whenever you're walking on the road or you're passing by a construction site, make sure you have some cotton inside your ear or you have earplugs to protect your ears from the sound. Maintain a level of around 35 decibels in your bedroom, right? And around 40 decibels in your house so that your ears don't get damaged. When you're listening to music or when you're watching TV, make sure the sound is not too loud. You see, the sound is we don't notice the sound. We don't think it's damaging our ear because we are habituated with living with sound. But over a period of time, your ears start to get damaged when you listen to prolonged loud music or you're exposed to prolonged loud sound. So make it a habit from today to reduce the sound levels. If possible, choose your residential areas away from heavy traffic zones. Now, in a country like India, it is very difficult, but if it's possible, try and choose a place or live in a place that is far away from the main road, far away from roads that are very noisy. Avoid prolonged use of earphones, especially at elevated sound levels. And I've already told you about tinnitus, so please keep that in mind. You can also Google it and you can also read more about the problem, but it is a problem that is prevalent today. Just do the test. Turn off the fan, close your ears, and try and hear the sound. If you don't hear any sound, you don't have tinnitus, you are very lucky. But if you hear a ringing sound inside, that means your nerves are getting damaged and tinnitus has already started. And if you do not take care of it now, if you don't take precautions now, it will lead to hearing loss and it will become permanent damage in the future. If possible, avoid jobs with regular exposure to elevated sound levels. So try and avoid, working in a place or having a job where you have to use or you're exposed to a lot of loud sounds. That way you can protect yourself. Now let's look at the loudest city in India. In 2011, a study by the Center of Science and Environment has confirmed that New Delhi is the loudest city in India. The level of noise in the streets can go above 100 decibels. It's already painful to the ear, already damaging the ear. The noise level has reached dangerous levels beyond the recommended guidelines of 50 to 55 decibels for residential zones. So even in the residential zone, you have sound levels that are above 100 decibels. You can just imagine the people over a period of few weeks, they start having these symptoms of hypertension, anxiety, frustration, blood pressure, and the ears also start getting damaged at the same time, all because of noise. Prolonged exposure to this level of noise has resulted in the increase of risk in hearing loss among citizens. So, a lot of people have hearing loss already because they're exposed to these noise levels. According to studies, the average age of citizens in New Delhi are 10 years older in terms of hearing, which means that they are at greater risk of losing their hearing in their 50s or 60s. So by the time they become 50 or 60 years old, they have a chance of losing their hearing altogether. That is the level of noise that they're exposed to. Loud noise is often generated by honking of cars, which means changes in attitude and behavior can reduce the main source of noise. Now, if we become responsible citizens, okay, if we become responsible drivers and stop honking at everything for no reason, we can actually reduce noise pollution in the city. The streets of New Delhi are shared by vehicles, people, cyclists, and more. Traffic is heavy, and the use of honk is essential to alert people walking on the streets of oncoming traffic. Because Delhi is such a crowded city, All metropolitan cities, for example, take Calcutta, Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai. All these cities are heavily populated, and you'll always have people walking around, so you tend to honk a lot. So people, pedestrians also have to behave responsibly. They need to cross the roads only at zebra crossings when there is a green light, right? And drivers of vehicles should reduce their honking as much as possible. Then we can actually reduce noise pollution, and we can reduce the effects or the harmful effects it has on the body, and have a healthier lifestyle. So the one really good thing that you can actually do is to inculcate the practice of meditation. Let me tell you, silence is golden. Silence brings peace, right? When you're in a silent environment, you feel secure, and your body tends to heal faster. Most of the time, our outer noise is a reflection of our inner state. Because there is so much of frustration inside us, we're not able to sleep, we're not able to sit quietly in one place, right? We are exposed to so much of sound outside. We tend to watch TV, we tend to listen to music, constant noise. Because of that, you're not able to be at peace with yourself. So try, irrespective of what religion you follow, meditation is beneficial to all, right? So you can meditate, and you can bring in peace. You can slow down the rhythm of your life, right? Practice meditation. It'll give you a sense of inner calmness, it'll give you a sense of inner stillness, and foster inner peace, right? So whenever you come out from a very noisy environment, come home, spend about half an hour meditating. That will calm you down. It will let you sleep at night, and it will let your body heal. Wherever your body needs healing, it happens in silence. Let me tell you that. So give your body that break, give your body that quietness. All right, and let us all work to reduce noise pollution. So thank you so much. This comes to the end of our session today. So hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a lot, right? And please meditate as much as possible so that you can have a healthier lifestyle. Take care, and I'll see you again next Friday.